topic of health made me think of old British public information films. I wanted to address the healthiness of being closed off from nature and make it in the style of analogue horror, a genre that uses nostalgia and analogue formats to evoke a new kind of creepiness. I was heavily inspired by the satanic panic that started in the 80s, where people feared that the media was corrupting youths to be godless, but for my idea, rather than Satan, it was gnomes, as in an old Scandinavian tale, a gnome wasn't given porridge how they liked it and killed the farmer's best cow. I decided on the concept that by the end of the video it would be revealed that gnomes had finally struck back at humanity for destroying nature, causing mass chaos and the breakdown of civilization. To incorporate a few different nostalgic elements, I based it loosely around the late 20th century. For filming the Lazy Bones scenes, I used a Sony Handycam from 1998. The use of a period-accurate camera allowed me to recreate more easily the visual style I was going for, coming with its own glitches, sound and aesthetic. It also shoots in a 3:2 format, allowing for a different method of shooting and more creativity in recreating the tapes I was inspired by. All the outdoor footage was filmed on my phone prior to the project's beginning. Assigning a new intention to these clips gave a much more naturalistic found footage effect, as it was actual found footage. The indoors scene was only lit with light from the screens to truly give the impression that the subject's focus wasn't on anything else, and that they were fully engrossed. This was tricky due to them not being designed for lighting a shoot, but worked in my favour as it made for much more dramatic lighting, however degraded some of the clips. I wanted to really create an authentically creepy but humorous atmosphere through my use of the sound design. I took some of the audio glitches from the pre-recorded footage on the Handycam I used, particularly the underlying noise and some of the rising noise I put over the text at the end. The voiceover was a quintessential element in some of the British public information films I had looked at for inspiration. It also would help me to convey some of the underlying tones in the story and make the narrative clear.
The weight of an elephant, charging straight through the driver.
When the voice glitches out and reverberates around, I applied the analog delay effect, cranked the feedback up to maximum, then tripled the audio track, creating two copies set to a much higher and much lower pitch, then bounced the two pitch tracks between left and right to make it more enveloping and jarring. The before and after photos I achieved by distorting and exaggerating faces in FaceApp, an AI software that can add a multitude of features to people, but most importantly, if you face swap somebody with themselves, and do this quite a few times, you can heavily distort the person's features past recognition to creepy and unsettling levels. It all came together in the edit, which was a lengthy process and the most important part, as most of the narrative would be shown through the editing style and structure. Careful choices were made to create a narrative that flowed clearly in the 2 minutes without allowing for it to be too obvious, and maintain a level of mystery to keep the audience engaged. I spent a lot of time trying to find the right fonts and creating graphics, as well as creating a believable VHS effect on the footage that wasn't recorded on the Handycam. I created the logos for both the organisations in Illustrator, then animated them in After Effects. I used blank footage from the Video 8 tapes as a reference for visual glitches and as an overlay. I also used the public information films I'd researched for an idea of colour and aesthetics, like the freeze frames for text to appear and the chimes that I created in GarageBand. The techniques and methods I learned and the creative decisions I made allowed for me to create a realistic portrayal of how dangerous gnomes are.